This is Marvel Legends Dark Wolverine Unmasked variant, part of Series 2 of the 2012 return of Marvel Legends. I'm not sure what the demand is like on this guy. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the middle, maybe closer to the top, because the eBay prices I've been seeing are pretty bad, but not as bad as some, like Big Time Spidey or or Future Foundation Spidey. But he's right. He's in the middle, closer to the top, I would say. I really like him. He's got a few problems, nothing too major, but overall, I think he's a really great figure. On to him in a minute. Let's look at his packaging first, as always. I really like the new Marvel Legends packaging. It's just really cool. It's got a very comic book look to it. And the images, the artwork's great, and the little, the comic book lettering on it is great. I love it. Only problem is there's not a very good picture of the actual figure. It's this little one down here of the figure's head and torso, really. He is a Build-A-Figure release, a BAF, which means he comes with the left arm of a big Arnim Zola figure. I don't have all the pieces yet, so I haven't built it. Alright. On to the figure. If you don't know who Dark Wolverine is, he is named Daken or Daken, I'm not sure, but he's the son of Wolverine. He is part of the Dark X-Men, led by, it's another Norman Osborn thing. There he is right there. He's basically the same as Wolverine, except he has two claws on the top of his wrist and one that comes out of the bottom. So this one only has two. It comes out here, and then there's a third one that comes out from right there underneath. He only has two in this one. I don't know why they decided to just go with the two, but I mean they're still pretty cool. Alright, so on to the sculpt. I believe it's a mixture of some old parts and some new parts. The torso and top of these legs, okay, so the torso, upper legs, and upper arms are the same as the Constrictor figure that just came out. Which is a recycle from the Moon Knight figure from, I think, Series 15. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that, but it's recycled from Moon Knight. And then, of course, his these parts, his forearms, his boots, and head, and this part of his knee. Those are all new. But I think it's a good enough mixture to where I'm not really, I'm not really thinking of it as a repaint. And I like this body sculpt too. I especially like the added articulation in it. So I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it. The paint scheme on him is really cool. I really like it. It's this like 80s Wolverine. This was the costume that Wolverine wore in the 80s when he got his own series. It's got this tan color here, and that's washed together. It's like with a brown tan and then a yellowy tan all washed in together. And then the darker brown part, and it's all like a semi-gloss satin finish. The sculpt itself, I do like it. It's kind of bare, like it has some muscle on the back and a little bit on the arms, on the chest, but some down here. But there's not much really at all. It's pretty simple and it's pretty subtle, and I like it. I think it works for him. As you can see, he's got tattoos all over his arm. It's just, I don't know, some tribal thing, I guess. But those are real nice and clean, and I like the skin tone too. His boots, they're his classic, Wolverine boots, same one Wolverine wears. Pretty much the same exact costume Wolverine sometimes wears, and I really like those. It's really hard to nail that, that weird spiky boot, but they got it. See, those claws are really cool. He's got the metal sheath here, and that's just a silver metallic paint with some black in the little notches. And his claws are like a bone, and there's some decent texture in there. I mean, it kind of feels like bone, or what I imagine bone to feel like. They're a little bent. I just opened this guy a little while ago, so I haven't fixed it yet. But you can fix that with hot water. His belt, he's just got this red belt, and it is a separate piece. I'm sure you could get it off if you tried hard enough. But I'm just going to leave mine on. I like it better on. One thing I don't like about the sculpt is this ankle joint. See that? I mean, I like this ankle articulation, the hinge and swivel. That's actually my favorite ankle articulation, so I like that he can do that, but I wish they could have just hidden that, designed that joint a little better. I mean, you can see it, it's quite an eyesore. His head sculpt is really cool. I mean, he that's his mohawk, it definitely is. I like how tall it is. I like how it falls down to some sides, you know, because it can't defy gravity, really. His face is pretty simple. There's not much to it there. And of course, he has the Wolverine mask kind of draped down around his neck, and that is removable. You can just pop his head off, take it off, and put it back on. I prefer. I mean, there's no real reason to take off that mask thing. I mean, because it just hangs around his neck. There it is, right there. So the regular version has this mask on, obviously. So I really don't see the point in taking it off. I like to leave it on. I really like that they included that. A lot of times when it's an unmasked figure, they won't include that. It'll just be, you know, without a mask. It would have been cool if it came with a swappable head, you know, with the mask on. But I mean, I'm happy with it. I guess they gotta come up with their money-making ploy somehow to buy more figures. So in terms of quality control, Marvel Legends is pretty good with, at least these newer Marvel Legends are pretty good with not letting too many flaws get out. Just make sure those tattoos are nice and neat and clean. Make sure his claws aren't too bent. And then, of course, his hair. You know, make sure that black's not on the forehead and his eyebrows and eyes. You know, the basic stuff. Also, make sure his buckle is nice and neat. And it's not something you can really check for in the box, but when you open them up, you might see that maybe one little area on his ab crunch is just a little bit loose. Alright, so let's get you a size comparison here. Like Constrictor and Moon Knight, he's not one of the biggest figures. He's certainly not one of the smallest, I don't think. There he is next to Commander Rogers. So I mean, he's a lot shorter than him, and he's not quite as thick. I don't have any other Wolverine figures in the 6-inch scale, so I can't really attest if this guy is. I mean, he looks a bit tall for a Wolverine. I'm not exactly sure if if this dark Wolverine is quite as short as a regular Wolverine, but I don't know. I'm fine with the size of this guy. Alright, so his articulation is awesome. I love it. He's got a ball-jointed head, which sits on a hinge. He can't really look up too well because of his mohawk gets in the way. He's got ball-jointed shoulders, swivel bicep, double hinge elbow, swivel forearm or glove, and then he has a ball hinge wrist. His shoulders also have that extra hinge articulation, so the ball joint sits inside this little hinge housing, and you can push it forward and back. So that adds a lot of articulation to it. I really like when they include that. I was really glad they gave it to him because, you know, he can really pull his claws back like that and, you know, get ready to pounce. He's got an ab crunch, a swivel waist, ball jointed hips, swivel thigh, double jointed knee, swivel boot, and a swivel hinge foot. And then he has that little toe thing. That's good for like a running pose or something. So, I mean, this guy is fully loaded with articulation. I'm really happy with this guy's articulation. Really happy with this guy all around. Alright, so, final thoughts. Like I just said, I'm really happy with this guy all around. He's sorry, let me get some focus here. He's a great figure overall, despite his ugly ankles and that, you know, that's the teeny bit of a loose ab crunch. I think he's a great figure. I give him a strong 8, maybe an 8.5. I really like him. He's really cool. Should you get him if you're an X-Men fan? Definitely. I mean, he's the closest you're going to come to Wolverine until at least they release a regular Wolverine one. So if you're not really an X-Men fan, I would still suggest him. He's really cool. Right now, you can get him at your local comic shop, or if you're patient, you can probably find him at Walmart or Target in a couple weeks. But like I said, on eBay, his prices aren't too. I mean, actually, they are. They're pretty expensive, but they're not insanely crazy. You can probably grab this guy for $30 or $40 on eBay. All right, well, that's it for him. I hope you found this helpful, and until next time, keep collecting.